the next to last in our Blood and Roses game is Tewksbury. Here we have King Edward on the attack against Prince Edward. Prince Edward's not on the board, his little flag is, but Wentlock is in command of that force. A lot of firepower here between archers, artillery, handguns. Unfortunately for them, the Lancastrian artillery is all unlimbered already at the start of play. There's an optional scenario where it's also unlimbered, where they're positioned in here, which actually looks like kind of an advantage to me, but it claims that it'll be neutral. I don't agree, and I'll show you why in a moment when we look at the terrain. A couple of special rules here. There's some Yorkists over here that can be used for an ambush using the normal ambush rules. And they're of some importance. Basically, they're positioned over here worried about an outflank in this direction. And in order to allow that, well, it's a timed game. And the Yorkists are obviously on the attack since they've got their artillery unlimbered. Otherwise, it would be kind of funny. And then there's a special rule for Somerset, which once per game, you can launch Somerset on sort of a death ride. He can take an action on a free activation, and then you can declare that you're doing this, and then keep rolling for continuations with Somerset. And Somerset is far and away the best leader that the Lancastrians have. Unfortunately, what you probably want to do with that is charge him down this way where he'll get ambushed. And let's see. If the Yorkists, I haven't pulled my chits yet, if the Yorkists get a seizure, or if Somerset fails his continuations, then his little ride stops, and you go back to normal rolls where you have to alternate between leaders. But this basically gives him a chance to make a lot of distance all at once and maybe make an attack you weren't counting on, or charge into these flags maybe. I don't know how valuable that is, but if a failed seizure happens, there's a free activation, and if it happens in the midst of this, you can select Somerset again and keep him continuing, and that could really cause problems. As to the terrain for this one, I wish they made the easiest terrain. I'm not sure. Totem wasn't particularly good. I don't know what the easiest terrain is. They all sort of have some, so I know that I was not happy with Barnett with the clear terrain, which is all over the place being 2, but you get used to it enough, and there weren't that many hedgerows. Anyway, the terrain on this one's pretty complicated. These hedgerow brushes, you can see they're expensive, have a major effect. They also penalize archers and I think artillery as well. Yeah, all missile fire by -1 per hex that they move through, that they go through when they're firing. So any kind of distance fire through this is just not really going to be terribly effective. We also have the manor and the camp, which is an abandoned castle. Queen Margaret was here, but she left. And those both also are fairly significant. The camp has the same kind of effect. The manor is actually blocking terrain, I think, because it's a building. The river up here is impassable, and look, it runs across the side of the board. How convenient. The brook, on the other hand, not a big deal. There's a bridge over here, I guess. Some level changes, and that's about it. Anything else I need to talk about? I don't think so. Nothing too exciting. We've seen the ambushes before, and we've seen timed engagement, certainly. This flank attack roll is sort of the exciting new thing here. So the Yorkists open up with an army move, and then didn't get a continuation. But you can see I got to move everybody at once. This is one of the kind of nice things in addition to the system. I don't remember if this was there in Infidel, I don't think so, where you can just, you know, make a meeting engagement push a little faster than it would by the normal system rules. And there's a real problem. A meeting engagement didn't work because you would send one unit off and then it's the one that gets engaged, so it gets all the activations that you could possibly shove it into it, which means the army kind of arrives piecemeal. That might be okay in some ways. There's certainly situations that aren't represented correctly by the army movement, but if you've got everybody kind of close together, yeah, they should be able to move together. And that's really what the army movement does, is you have to stay within range of your overall commander. Your different sub-commanders do. Not using army movement, and also not using Beaufort's special ability here, which I have very little reason to see doing it from this defensive position. I had some thoughts about coming around, you know, to the side here and getting ambushed or something. That doesn't seem to be particularly reasonable to me. What I'm going to save it for is, in battle, if I can clear Gloucester, I can send Somerset on his charge against Edward himself, say. But anyway, not using battle movement so that I could fire. We moved here, then up here, then up here. And you can see some of the return fire didn't go well for me. But in general, I tried to pick on things that could not return fire. The artillery, we killed a couple of Yorkist limbered artillery real quick, because that's just kind of the nature of things, right? And you can see over here, Devon got hammered with two of the battles hitting the forces he threw out in front to shoot things up. And yeah, he's close to breaking, and that means I have to do things about him very quickly. Whether or not that's bringing these into play or trying to undisorder that unit. The Lancastrians are suffering here because of that coordination, and maybe it would have been better just to stand back. I thought I'd get some advantage by moving up and shooting things as they come, but it turns out, nah, I just got segmented. And Gloucester here was kind of engaging here. He was hoping to take advantage of this as well, which he shot that out. That's why this guy's out here. But on the other side, this guy lost his little duel. I figure I'm putting enough pressure on the Lancastrians that putting more pressure on them, even equal odds pressure, you know, is kind of an attritional type action, right? That would do what I wanted to do. All right, that throws it back into the Lancaster side, and it's going to be a tough call. I think I'm going to have to call this flag just to keep that battle more likely in things. But the danger, of course, is I've got a disordered unit here. I've got forces that are kind of have to fall back where they're outnumbered locally. All right, so we opened up pushing this squeeze on further. You can see we've driven them back down a little bit. Yeah. That was just a terrible thing to have happen. Oh well. Courtney, I think, is not a very good leader, so I guess we can excuse it. It brings up something over at BGG, which is the, wow, you know, how about these huge blunders that you sometimes see on the battlefield? You know, a fair amount of that does come from the players themselves, like me doing something like this, that you maybe don't need the written orders or, you know, the die rolls in the musket and pike or something like that. My feeling is always, though, that when I'm playing an opposed play, I make less of these blunders, I think. I'm not sure, maybe not. It may depend on my mood, whatever. I know I make big blunders still, but also that there are other players who are much, much more careful. And I kind of like something to even that out. honestly, I don't know. It feels to me like you can be very careful in the game. Now, of course, you could say, well, look, that's the good commander, the person who is being careful, who pays attention, what units do I need, whatever. And doesn't make some kind of idiotic tactical blunder like this. But I like a little bit of wrapping around my blunders so that maybe they can go better or something. Anyway, with this system, you kind of have it with the initiative rolls, etc. There are times when that causes things to end up out of position, the continuations. Gloucester also attacked. Well, he recovered here. It didn't do much good. In fact, this unit got shot up coming in, and now he's facing a couple of bowmen who could just back up and keep shooting him. Now we're coming to the defensive position situation, right? Except the artillery, which isn't very powerful anyway, is getting shot up on both sides. We had some archers picking stuff off here. A little bit of chit play. I'm not fond of the chits, to tell you the truth. Even if I was playing opposed, I would probably forget about them too much. But we had, I don't remember, the Yorkists played treachery to help improve their situation here and get a quick hit on. There was a seizure attempt by the Lancasters during this one. The treachery was very early, and it was negated with the seizure negation. Now they both, unbeknownst to them, have a seizure opportunity, and Lancastrians have a treachery, which might help them extricate themselves from this situation. This is just, it's just horrible. I don't know if anything can be done. I think Devon just lost everything he's got there. Anyway, Austrians, they lost an archer trying to slip him. You can go from one zone to another. Well, there aren't zones. We can go from adjacent to one unit to adjacent to another, and I think this was here and it moved to there, I hope. If it was here, I couldn't do it, but I think it was here and moved to here. Anyway, he got shot by the handgunners, the disordered handgunners, which is pretty embarrassing, and killed by them before he could launch any arrows. And this guy managed a successful attack against the longbowman there, although he was demoralized on the approach. And then we lost the initiative. I was considering using the Orcust chip there because I would really like to launch this, or maybe this, I don't know. And now I can. The Orcust Devon's force got its battle down to the flight level. It did not flee. So now they're there forever, right? One of the games, I think the last scenario I had a chance of sending someone running. Yeah, the treachery roll from the last one would have allowed, not like the chip, would have allowed someone to run from the field even after this. But now they're sturdy. They're not going to flee. I'm not sure how much I accept that, but it seems like a fair compromise. I was actually thinking there's I think a potential, and I don't know if the rules actually cover this, and I don't really care that much, because anybody who'd be playing these games is capable of resolving it themselves. But I think it's physically possible to chase all the battles of one player off the field without routing the whole army. How do you want to declare that? Well, obviously you're not going to defeat the guy who still got the field, and the guy who left it got away. You know, he wasn't defeated as heavily, but you can kind of say he lost the battle because he lost the ground there. You know, so I think you would take it as the person who held the field kind of won, but it wasn't as extensive as it maybe could have been. Unfortunately, you don't have an opportunity to withdraw from the battle or to engineer that otherwise, and that's a pretty hard. You basically have this flight, this route, and if you happen not to get pursued badly enough, well, you might do better than if you were forced to stick around. And that feels kind of weird, but I don't know. Both sides have played with the flank that has their weakest commanders on it. Hastings versus Devon here. And Devon tried to recover their position a little bit. Probably not wise. Maybe it would have been wiser to recover those retired units, because the archers came charging down and killed one of them. And you can see I got an artillery here. It's not set up yet. It's still sitting on its limbered side, but I'm trying to get in a position where I can, maybe back here or something, where I can just start pounding on these, and they're going to have to swing their position around. They may have to move some of their banners. If that's the case, that could be a problem. Initial activation over here with Hastings. We had Edward and Gloucester. Edward. I think they got 3 continuations and really plowed into Prince Edward's command, even if he's not in command there. And that's got things up to a 16. Now, that means on a 4 or better, this is going to fall. So I think what I got to do is a standard activation here as my first activation. That'll get me 3 points back here. And 3 here, just to give me some chance of not failing here. And let's see, Lancasters are at 20, so now it's a 7, 8, or 9 ends the battle. The Lancaster in defeat. And that's the game. And we didn't use a lot of the toys in this one, So Somerset didn't do his special activation. This didn't come into play. Just kind of plowed in and counted on leadership to do things. A couple of these counters not used, missed opportunities, maybe, obviously. But the biggest thing was sending Devon forward. I think you want to probably sit back, force the Yorkists to come at you, hope their line gets disarrayed, either trying to push through here just in terms of ordering and then hit them, maybe take a couple of passes to get yourself into a position and see what you can do. Maybe you can, rush through these with the Somerset roll or something. I don't know. But yeah, this particular instance of the battle did not play out at all well for the Lancastrians. It just went downhill real fast and hard.